So most of the products that I'm sharing and also using on my tutorial today is pretty new, so I would like to test them on the camera itself for you guys on how I personally like them. So I've actually applied my face moisturizer, and also I applied this particular stuff that I wanted to try. This is actually the Trestique Mini Plumping Lip Balm. It's a lip treatment. It doesn't really feel anything on the lips. And I don't know how it will plump the lips, but I do see like a red line on my lips. It doesn't really tingle or anything like that. I got this through the Sephora lip kit. So leaving that aside, I'm going to use my face primer. This is of course an oldie but a goodie, but I wanted to use this for this particular look. So this is the Mineral Veil Primer by Hourglass. I'm just going to shake it up a little bit. This does come with an SPF. Just going to apply this on my palm and apply this all over my face. This definitely helps the makeup to last longer, and it gives a beautiful base to apply the makeup. On my nose area and on the cheek area, I like patting it so that it covers up the pores. A bit on the forehead. So I'm going to allow the primer to sink in on my face for a little bit. For the foundation, I'm going to try out the Bare Minerals. This is Bare Pro Performance Wear Liquid Foundation. This foundation too does come with an SPF of 20, and I picked out the shade Nutmeg, which is number 24. So this was definitely recommended by all my friends here on YouTube, and I wanted to give this a try. It says that it's a performance wear liquid foundation, broad spectrum SPF of 20. It's a 30 ml of product. I believe this foundation was $38. I'll list them down on the description bar below. It says that it's a flawless medium to full coverage, lasts all day, creamy blendable texture for luxurious comfort, stay true mineral pigments designed for all skin tones, oil free, non-comedogenic, hypoallergenic, and it's also dermatologist tested. This particular foundation does come with a wider range of shades, and I believe there are about 30 shades overall, and it does come with a bottle packaging, and it has a plastic cover on the top. And when you actually open this bottle up, I was actually testing the shade, it does come with a clip-on so that you can lock your foundation and it doesn't get messy everywhere if you travel with it. And you open it up, you just twist it and open them up. So I'm right now ready to apply my foundation. So I'm going to use one pump of this foundation first. The foundation is pretty runny at the back of my hands. I'm going to use the Real Technique brush first to see how it works before I decide to see if I would like to use the beauty blender. I'm just going to pat this on my face area. So this shade was actually recommended by a friend here on YouTube. So I kind of feel that it matches pretty well with my skin tone. It doesn't really feel heavy on the skin. It doesn't have any scent as well. But it's a pretty full coverage foundation. I can see with just one pump I have pretty good coverage on my face area. And I'm still using the half of it. I feel with the brush it does apply a little bit dry on my face, so I personally would go on the top of it just to blend everything in with a beauty blender. And pretty much it has given me the coverage that I need. So I'm actually getting ready for a party today. And I'll probably code down what I'm actually talking, since it's like a secret kind of thing. I'm just gonna blend it on my neck. It's a pretty decent wearing foundation. I'm just gonna blend it in with my beauty blender to see if it evens up. Of course, it does look like I have a foundation on my skin, but it doesn't feel heavy on the skin. Just blending everything in. And I do have a combination to dry skin, so it doesn't look too bad on my skin type. But I'm pretty sure this foundation would work well on oily skin girls, because even on my skin it looks really nice. Though I have more of a combination to dry skin, I'm going to take a small squirt right here. And I'm just going to apply them over my cheek area with my beauty blender. I think I would prefer a beauty blender with this foundation more than the brush. It does give a full coverage with the brush, but this foundation is a medium to full coverage foundation anyways, so you can definitely use a beauty blender with it. Yep, I personally feel that it blends in much more nicely with a beauty blender against my skin. But again, it's just more of a preference. So now that we're done with the foundation, let's move on to the eye makeup first before I do the entire face area. So I'm going to use my MAC paint pot. This is not new to me, and this is their Pro Longwear paint pot in the shade Soft Ochre. And I'm just going to apply this all over my lid area as a base. Going to do so on the other side of my eye, blending the shade in. Once that's done, I'm just going to apply a translucent powder to give it a base to the eye area, and I'm going to use the Beauty Bakerie. This is their Flour Better Not Bitter translucent powder, and this is something new that I've been trying. I personally like this for my under eye area, so I'm just going to use a powder brush just to apply this all over my lid area. I personally have been liking this translucent powder for my under eye area. I didn't really use it to set my entire face, but I use it more for my under eye area and also my T-zone area. And it works pretty fine, but it's not like the must have kind of translucent powder. It's pretty decent, but it's not like a must have. The translucent powder always flies everywhere. So I'm going to use the black eyeliner by Causemetics just to line my top lid area. Doesn't really need to be that neat because I'm going to smudge it off like very lightly, and then I'm going to use the sponge on the other side and just smudge it off. You can go very little at a time and then add as much as you need. I'm keeping it just very low on my lid area. It's been raining like throughout the week. So once that base is done, I'm going to use the Anastasia. This is their powder bronzer in the shade Saddle. And I'm just going to dip my brush lightly into it, and I'm going to blend this over my crease area, just to define my crease. So I'm using the powder bronzer, and I've been liking this bronzer, but it's not a must-have because it does have lots of fallout, but it's a very soft powder. Maybe that's the reason it does have fallout, but it looks beautiful on the skin. So I'm just going to blend this only on my crease area just to define it. Alright, let's move on to the eyeshadow. So I'm going to use my MCGrath eyeshadow palette. This is their Mothership number 2, I believe, and I'm going to use this palette. This is how it looks like. It's a beautiful palette. So I'm going to work on a few of the shades right here. I'm going to use the green over my lid area. So that's the look I'm trying to achieve today. Let's start with this black. It's a matte eyeshadow, and I'm going to pack it on the area that I applied the eyeliner. This is one of the only palette that I own from the brand, and it's a beautiful palette. The black on this particular palette goes on so intense, And so that I just packed it on. I'm going to do likewise on the other side of my eye. And I'm going to use the same brush without any shade just to blend the black shade. Once you've blended in the black shade, I'm going to use this brown right here, which is also a matte eyeshadow. And I'm going to use it on the outer corner. I'm just going to pack it on the outer corner. And I'm going to bring it on my crease area. So you have to pack it on before you blend them in. And then on the inner corner as well. And I'm going to use the very same brush. I'm going to blend them in. You can see that there's some harshness, so just pick up a little bit bronzer and blend the shade in. So you have to keep blending until you see that it's blended seamlessly and it doesn't have any harsh line. And I'm going to place the green eyeshadow right here on the center of my lid. So this is the first time I'm trying out this shade and it looks pretty when it's swatched. Let's see how it works. I'm using my finger to pat them in. It does have like a purplish kind of shimmer to it. I'm going to use the brown again. Using this brush, I'm going to blend them in. It does get on the lower lid of the eye, so just be careful when you're applying this eyeshadow. So I'm going to use a brush just to intensify the green. Let's see how it works with a little bit of spray. I'm going to use the Cha-Cha spray on the brush. I kind of feel that it doesn't want to adhere to a brush, so I'm just going to use my finger to pack it on. Personally, I feel the finger works better with this shade right here. So you still need to work with the brown on the inner and the outer corner. So I'm going to use this matte brown right here. Then I'm going to use the brush again to blend them in. This is something you do on occasional basis because it does take a lot of time to blend the shades in. Let's do the concealer before we final up the look with the eye area. So I'm going to apply the Becca. This is their Aqua Luminous Perfecting Concealer in the shade Warm Honey. And I'm going to use this only on the inner corners. This is pretty new, but I've been really liking this particular concealer on everyday basis. If you're someone who prefers light concealers on the under eye area and you have dry under eye area like me, you may want to try this out. And I'm also using this on the side of my mouth. And I'm going to use my beauty blender to blend the concealer in. So with the MCGrath, the shimmer eyeshadow, I kind of feel that the finger gives a little bit more intensity than the brush itself. So instead of using a synthetic brush, maybe you might need to use like a real hair brush with it to get the intensity. Just blending in this concealer just right here. This is not a highlight shade, it's much more like a correcting shade for my under eye area. I'm just bringing it down this way. So I'm done applying the correcting concealer. I'm going to use an highlight shade, and this is the Tarte Shape Tape Concealer in the shade medium. This is pretty light, but I like it as an highlighting shade. So I'm just going to apply this one dot here, here and here, and then right here, right here, right here. And I'm also going to use this to highlight the center of my nose, my forehead, my cupid's bow, and also the side of my mouth. So this concealer a little goes a long way, so you do not need much of this concealer. So I'm going to start with my nose and the center of my forehead. I really like how the foundation still looks on my skin. I don't necessarily see that you need to set this foundation. You might need to set a little bit, but not much. It feels a little bit sticky, not too much. For this smoky eye look, I definitely want my under eye area to give a little bit more brightness. So I'm kind of like cleaning the eyeshadow on the side, but you definitely need to blend them in later on. I'm doing that. I'm just bringing this concealer down to the side of my nose, if you notice that. For the translucent powder, I'm going to use the Beauty Bakerie translucent powder. I'm just going to pack it with a powder brush. I'm not going to actually bake it under my skin because I have dry skin. So I'm just going to pat it on the under eye area. I'm just setting this area where I applied the concealer. So basically I use this to set the area that I've applied the concealers in. I'm going to use this on the center point of my nose area, my forehead, and also my mouth area. So now that's done. And for the bronzer, I'm going to use the Anastasia Beverly Hills bronzer. And this is in the shade Saddle. So I'm just going to apply this on my bronzer brush. Like I mentioned, I really like how this bronzer looks like on my skin tone, but it definitely has a lot of fallout. So this is how the bronzer looks like. My brush is kind of like shedding a lot of hair. It's time to wash it. Just packing a little bit more. Just apply a little bit powder on this area of my face before I put it on my blush. For the blush, I'm actually using the NARS Panic blush. This is their dual intensity blush. It's pretty old, but then I've not used them that much, so I'd like to try the shade right here. It does come with a little bit of shine on them. Pack on the blush. So I do not like swiping the blush because it kind of like defeats the purpose, so I kind of like pack it on before I blend them in. Now moving on to the highlighter, I'm using the Amrezy Anastasia Beverly Hills highlighter. I've been enjoying this highlighter recently. It looks really beautiful. I'm using the Anastasia Beverly Hills brush. I'm just going to swipe it and then apply this on my cheekbones. And a little bit bringing it up this way. I like swiping it up this way. So it kind of gives it a curve on this area. Likewise from here, moving to my cheek and then to the upper part. So this highlighter does look so beautiful. A little bit on the center point of my nose. Now I'm going to finish up with my eyebrows. I'm actually using my very old favorite Benefit brow pencil, so I'll do it off camera. So my eyebrows is pretty much done. I'm just going to apply a little bit of the black eyeliner on my lower lid area. I'm just going to use a small mirror from this particular palette right here, and I'm going to apply this on my lower lid area. I'm going to go a little bit with the Marc Jacobs Brownie eyeliner. This is not new to me. You guys probably already know. So I'm going to apply this on the outer corner and more on the inner corner. So I'm going to use the matte brown shade in the MCGrath palette with a pencil brush. I'm just going to smoke out the lower lashes, focusing on the outer and inner corner, leaving the center alone for a bit. I'm going to use a small mini brush, picking up the green shade. Hopefully it does pick up. I'm going to apply it on the center of the lower lid area. So I just pretty much smoked it out. I'm just going to use the blending brush in just to blend these eyeshadows. I'm going to curl my eyelashes well before I apply the mascara a couple of times. If you're someone who's comfortable with eyelashes, this look will definitely look really pretty with eyelashes on. Before I apply my mascara, I'm just going to apply a highlight shade. I'm going to use the very first eyeshadow right here. It does have shimmers in them, so I'm going to apply it very light on the brow bone area. It's a peachy champagne shade. This does wear pretty well. It blends in pretty nicely. Overall, I do like this palette. So let's apply the mascara. I'm using the Causemetics mascara. Truly the best mascara if you do not like fake eyelashes. So I'm just going to apply the mascara. So I'm going to apply a new lip product, but I'm not going to use a lip liner as of yet. I'm just going to apply this on its own and see how it looks on my skin tone. And it's the Smashbox. This is the Always On liquid lipstick in the shade Stepping Out. So I've been really liking this nudes from Smashbox. So I'm going to apply the lip product itself before I check on and see if I need a lip liner with it. And I'm going to use my mini mirror from the Anastasia Beverly bronzer palette. I personally do not feel you need a lip liner, but I'm just going to apply a second coat of it. So this is the entire finished look. I'm going to put on my attire and then I'll come back and do a final look for you guys. And I'm going to set my makeup with the Makeup Forever. This is their Mist and Fix Spray. So I'm just going to spray this over my face.